Hello and welcome to the County Ground, where the Swindon Town Swoodly Poopers are today taking on Tottenham Hotspur, a game we have to win if we want to become the Premier League champions, and we do. We are now in that horrible period at the end of the season where it's like 2 games per week because we had so many competitions. We've been so successful that they had to reschedule all our games, so we get really tired really easily, and we're just going to have to. If you've been a longtime Swoodly Pooper supporter, you've seen me play D. Lucas in midfield, the our goalkeeper. You've seen me play, Bowden, who's the 32 skill level. This is where we have to get really creative. But right now, we've got one of our best teams on the pitch. We've got John Green and John Green up front. They're married, they're in love, and they're goal scorers. In the middle, we've got twice as Vice S. Holden Goldfield. So I feel good about this team, and I feel good about our chances today. I'm going to talk about haters. I always feel weird saying that word because it's such a silly word. I'm going to talk today about like critics and criticism and how I deal with criticism and all that stuff. So the first thing about that is that I take criticism very seriously, and I don't off the post and not in. I don't think criticism is bad. I don't think like I understand that it can be hurtful, but I think one of my very few legitimate talents as a writer is being able to see the weaknesses in my work and also listen to other people when they see the weaknesses in my work. So I don't get. Sometimes I guess I get my feelings hurt. But over years of practice, I definitely get my feelings hurt a lot less frequently than I used to. And now I find myself much more able to listen and understand that people are right when they have concerns. So a lot of times when people read stuff that you write and they tell you what they don't like, it can feel like they're wrong. But I would argue that they're sort of right by Oh, you really should have scored there, Zapata. I would argue that they're sort of right by definition a lot of times because they are the reader. And the reader is the person you're writing for and you're making stuff for. And if you didn't do a good job of translating the ideas in your head onto paper, and it doesn't have a life inside the mind of the reader, then like that is the most important thing. That's the reason that you made the thing in the first place. So I try to always listen to people when something doesn't work for them. I may not agree with their solution to the problem, but kind of by definition, they aren't wrong about there being a problem. This is definitely true when I'm working with someone I really trust, like Julie, like my editor. But it's also true when I'm reading reviews. Like I do not labor under the delusion that I write great or perfect books, and I think I'm pretty aware of their. Oh, it has to be ball, John Green. He's back after several games, and look at him celebrate enthusiastically. What a beautiful mustache. Bald John Green, John Green. Upon his mustache we're keen. He gives it all for the team. Bald John Green, John Green. By the way, I can't tell you how excited I am that I'm actually going to the actual Swindon on my UK tour. Tickets to that are sold out, by the way, so I apologize if you don't have them. But I'm very excited to go to the actual Swindon and yes, feel the magic of this great city, IRL, so that it's not just about winning trophies in FIFA 11 and my undying love for the Swoodly Poopers. It's also about the real place. It has to be, but it isn't. Ball John Green's just stronger than other John Green. So, yeah, so it doesn't just go for Julie or Sarah, the readers I trust the most. It's also true for critics and Goodreads reviewers and anybody. And one of the reasons that sometimes I still feel like it's helpful to read user reviews is that I want to know what people like and don't like about my books. And sometimes, now I will say sometimes I just don't agree with it. Like I understand that not all books are for all people, or that no book is for all people, and that, some people aren't going to like anything. Um, but I tend to look at sort of the overall sentiment more. And I think some of the knocks on I mean, look, like I've been very, very lucky. I have a supportive audience, and also for whatever reason, people who read, particularly The Fault in Our Stars, seem to really like The Fault in Our Stars. I mean, it has one of the highest, I think it has the highest rating on Goodreads of any book that's been rated more than 50,000 times, and it has one of the highest ratings on Amazon of any book that's been rated more than 1,000 times. So, like I'm aware of, like, I don't want to sound like ungrateful, or like I don't, um, or like I think that people don't like my books or whatever. But like I'm also aware of their weaknesses and their what they don't do as well. Never been a particularly good plotter, or even someone who's very interested in plot. Um, there's a kind of, like I like writing about nerds who are really super intellectually engaged, with questions that are important to them, which is not the majority of people. I do think there are some people like it. Like when people say, like, "Oh, the dialogue in *The Fault in Our Stars* isn't realistic," I just don't agree with that. I think it is. I mean, it's heightened because that's the nature of writing tragedy. You always write with heightened language. Shakespeare did that. Uh, you know, Fitzgerald did that. Like, I didn't invent that, and I don't apologize for it. Like Toni Morrison does that in Sula. Where there will be those moments of where the language, tries to elevate the lives of the characters to the stuff of epic tragedy. Like that's an intentional thing, and I don't think it's a bad thing. At least most readers don't seem to respond to it negatively. I guess some readers do. Like for some readers, it pulls them out of the story, which is fair. But it's a that's a decision, and like it's one of those decisions where you lose something if you do it, and you lose something if you don't do it. So it's just a question of like, what do you lose more? Which way do you lose more? But I also think that one of the reasons I like writing books is that each book becomes kind of like a time capsule of that moment in my life. But it doesn't have to be the only book, right? Like it doesn't have to be the only thing. So Paper Towns can be a response to Looking for Alaska that argues against a lot of the themes in Looking for Alaska in some ways, without that being like really contradictory. So I see some of that stuff, and I also think, structurally, like they're like books, Paper Towns, and I think Paper Towns and Catherine's both get structurally messy. They have a lack of like I think in trying to be too complicated or clever for their own sake. What David Foster Wallace called "Look, Mom, no hands." I have to fight against that urge to try to be like, I'm smart and I'm good and you should look how clever this is, because that doesn't really do anything in the end. So anyway, I'm acutely aware of all of this. That said, there is a different kind of critic, the like internet troll slash hater, or whatever you call that person, who is mostly in the business of being provocative for the sake of being provocative and trying to get someone to rise to the bait. That kind of discourse interests me a lot less. But curiously, while I think that it's like not useful or helpful to anyone really, I find myself rising to the bait all the time anyway. So I find myself like totally unable to resist the urge to respond to those people, which is of course the only reason why they continue to do it, because it elicits responses, and it's a way of getting attention in a world where we are all, or at least the vast majority of us, are starved for attention and want to be acknowledged and taken seriously, and have people listen to us. and it's a way to be heard, even if it's a way to be heard saying things that you aren't particularly proud of saying or whatever. So that problem with internet discourse, that it can quickly descend into sort of mutual insults and accusations and the creation of straw men and all that crap. I don't have a lot of patience for that, but I also find it extremely difficult to resist. So, on the Vlogbrothers channel, for instance, we're always trying not to give in to that. It's a terrible cross. And I think we do a reasonably good job within the videos, but then sometimes in comments we both don't. We both get snarky and respond to meanness with meanness, and that's not something I'm proud of. But it is, as everyone knows, it is so hard to resist. Like, it's so hard not to take it personally. And not just not to take it personally. It's in some ways you don't even know. Oh, that could have been a disaster, but instead everything is fine. The 88th minute, and all worked out beautifully. I'm sorry, I have to take a moment because I just almost gave up the whole game. Yeah, in some ways that makes things, but in some ways you also don't want it. You don't want to let it stand. Like if someone says something hideously bigoted, you don't want to just let it stand there. So that's why I don't know the best. I don't really know the best way to deal with that. Yeah, because I'm not that good at it, to be honest with you. You know what I am good at, though? FIFA 11. Smell your pits in shame, Tottenham, because you lost. Congratulations to the Swindon Town Swoodly Poopers. A goal from John Green, an assist from another John Green, and another great victory for the Swindon Town Swoodly Poopers. Thanks for watching. Best wishes.